Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about the palettes that are one-offs. I have one palette from this brand in my whole collection, and I want to look at the palettes and talk about whether or not that palette is good enough to make me want to try more from the brand. If you've never been here, hello, my name is Rachel. I am a homeschooling stay-at-home mom. I really enjoy eyeshadow. I do try to upload several videos every week. I've got hundreds of videos on my channel, tons of playlists. If you're interested and you like that sort of thing, I hope that you'll consider subscribing before you go. Okay, so let me first tell you about what is on my eyes today. Today's video was really fun. I'm going to link it down below in the description box if you're curious. For today, I challenged myself to do pretty much all of my makeup using only my fingers. No brushes allowed. So that video is carded above and linked below if you're curious. And for that video, I used the What's Up Beauty Geodes palette. Obviously, just like every palette I'm talking about today, this is the only palette I have from this brand. And I really like this palette. I really like the quality, the packaging, the size, the formula, the performance, everything. That's why I chose it for today's, no brushes allowed challenge eyeshadow look, because I knew that the mattes are easy to work with. They build and they blend together very nicely, so I'd be able to get a pretty decent crease, and I knew that the shimmers are quite impactful, but very smooth and creamy, not too reflective, not dry. It's just a great formula. I love this packaging. I think that the design, even if it were just a flat package, is beautiful. I love the colors that they picked and the way everything's sort of melding together, but it's textured too, which makes it even more fun. There are textures on all these lines and these little crystals and stuff. Very pretty. It plays through to the back, although the back is not textured. And it's just beautiful. I love the rose gold with purple. It's lovely. The inside is kind of a neutral with a twist. I have a video about neutrals with a twist too. I can card that for you as well. The overarching color story is kind of a soft rose gold mauvey sort of moment. More neutral, a couple warmer shadows over here, some really beautiful and bright shimmers. I love that they threw in a yellow. I love that they threw in a green. The yellow is not too yellow. It's sort of an extremely light buttery sort of yellow. It's not lemony. It's beautiful. So it works with the warm tones. It also works with the cool tones. The quality of this palette is excellent, and I absolutely 100% would be willing to try other palettes from this brand. I know that What's Up Beauty started out as nail polishes, then they released, I believe, the Monsoon palette, then geodes, and they just launched highlighters, the Serengeti highlighter. The packaging is gorgeous. I expect that the formula is very nice as well. So yes, 100%, I am very interested in other products from this brand. Next, let's talk about the Still Pretty palette from September Rose Cosmetics. This is the palette that I got when I really wanted to dive into red eyeshadow. This one has, it has nice packaging. It's not really my aesthetic, but I don't dislike it. It's just kind of clip art-y, It's like they went on to Canva maybe or Microsoft Word and they just grabbed some images offline and created the palette. The What's Up packaging is much more creative and beautiful. This has texture right here with the embossed lettering, and then these almost look like stickers, but I know they're not. And then on the back, it's pretty as well. It's got a cute gold border. It's cute. So this is the color story, and again, I wanted it when I was looking for red and pinks, mainly red, and I thought this would be a good option for me. It has a couple really good red tones. The quality of this palette is nice. The mattes remind me a bit of the Sigma mattes, where they are gonna go where you place them, but then they blend out a lot, sometimes too much for my own tastes. I prefer, for example, the Urenzai matte formula, where you place it and then you just buff the edges. I prefer my shadows to stay put. That's just my aesthetic, and because I work with colorful eyeshadow, I don't necessarily want this huge blown out blue or green look. I kind of want things to be tapered in a little bit more. I might have different preferences if I tended more towards very neutral looks, where a whole blown out look is nice because it all blends into my skin tone. I don't know. That's just where I am right now. This matte formula reminds me more of Sigma, and also maybe a bit of ColourPop. It's pretty. This one right here is the lightest matte in the palette, and it's really not as light as I want it to be. Every single time I use this matte, I wish that it were pastel, and I go, because it ends up almost messing up my look because I go into it thinking it's a pastel. And it's not. It's a little disappointing in that the shimmers are very pretty. This shimmer is gorgeous. It's a beautiful red shimmer with tiny little flecks of purple, and then this shimmer over here, also very pretty. A nice hot pink, a very pretty white shimmer. Overall, I think I would rate it maybe a 7 out of 10, maybe a 6.5. It's not bad at all. It just doesn't excite me. It's not a joy to use, and I am thinking of decluttering it. So I would not try anything else from this brand, but I am also kind of thinking they have decided to close their doors, so it might be a moot point anyway. Let's talk about Anastasia Beverly Hills. I have two palettes from them, but one is a face palette, and I'm talking about eyeshadow palettes today. So the only eyeshadow palette I have from ABH is the Nouveau I think this is great. This is one of my top 2 favorite neutral palettes. It has this beautiful sagey green color with the accent of gold, very classy, not too much, you know. The texture is sort of like linen. It is plastic, but that's the texture of it. And then it just has a sticker on the back, which I could have done without, but they have to label it somehow, I suppose. It's got like a good feel to it. It feels sturdy and it feels like good quality. The inside is great. Honestly, this is great. I like the formula a lot. It's not my tip-top favorite, but it's very good. I like the assortment of colors in here because it is neutral, but again, with a twist. You can see that purple in the center. The neutrals in this palette are intriguing to me because they're not very, very warm, but they're not very, very cool either. They're kind of in limbo, and I think that that is convenient to a lot of different skin tones. I think a lot of people could make this work on them. A much darker complected person may find these colors to be a bit ashy, but aside from that deeper skin tone, I think this would be good on most people. I do like the assortment of shimmers as well. We have some, you know, some greeny blue tones or peach or just straight up neutral. There's a rose gold over here, and then this pop of purple is so interesting. It's a weird color. It kind of glows inside the palette, and it works with all the other shadows. You might not think it does, but it really does. Maybe it would clash the most with this one right here, but you can still make it work, and it's quite lovely, honestly. This is a fun palette to play with, and this is the sort of neutral palette that makes me want to play with neutrals. I love colorful eyeshadow, but now and then I do want to go with something softer. This is a great option, and I think that I would try other palettes from ABH that were launched after this palette. I would be interested in trying the Cosmos, maybe that new one, I forget what it's called, like the one with the beautiful purpley burgundy color. I'd be interested in trying those. I'm not interested in trying older ABH palettes because not only do the color stories simply not interest me, but I think that they've updated their formula in this one. So anything post Nouveau, I would be interested in trying. Jacqueline Cosmetics has a few palettes on the market. I don't know what's going on with that brand. I know that she's always embroiling herself in some sort of drama. I am not here for the drama. I don't have time. But I thought that this palette, this is the Strawberry Feels. I thought this palette was kind of unique. I really like the undertones of these colors. There's nothing truly special about the color story in and of itself. It's just pretty standard. You know, it's a great fall palette. And honestly, the quality of this is lower than, I think, almost anything in my collection. This is one of the lowest qualities that I own. Most of my eye looks using this palette look the same. There's not a lot of variety because there's not a lot of depth or difference in tone. The shimmers are not super impactful, and there's no staying power. Honestly, this loses about 50% of its brightness, which is not very significant to begin with, within a couple hours of me wearing it. So overall, the palette it's okay. It's not great. The reason that it's still in my collection, surprisingly, is actually because of the undertones of the colors. I really love these tones on myself. They are kind of berry, kind of red, kind of pink, kind of wine, but not too much of any of that. You know, there's no hot pink and blood red. There's nothing that is an extreme of its version. Everything's, again, sort of like the Nouveau palette, kind of floating in the middle, so you're not totally sure what to call it. And these colors are quite flattering on my skin tone, so I enjoy the looks that I get when I wear this palette. I like that it's matte heavy. There are only 2 shimmers, and because the shimmers are not super impressive, I tend to prefer all matte looks when I wear this palette. It's a good option when I want a specific color story, nothing that's going to take too long to do or require a lot of thought. And I know that it's not going to be very, very bright and impactful. It will fade. So sometimes I want that kind of a look if it's just a really low-key day. And this is a palette that I have as an option if that's what I'm going for. But I would not try anything else from this brand. I'm not impressed with the formula or the color stories. She released a neutral palette. I'm not at all interested in other products from this brand. This one is the exception. Let's talk about Juvias Place. I do technically own 2 other Juvias Place palettes, but they are in my for sale box. So as far as I'm concerned, they're not in my collection. I have decided to get rid of them. This is the Garden of Juvias, though. This is new to my collection. Somebody gave it to me. I think it's pretty, like the packaging is pretty, you know, it's very, very colorful. Some of the Juvias Place packaging makes me go, huh? But this one's cute. And then it's just lovely pastel color on the back. So here's their pastel palette. And I am confident that Juvias Place has updated their formula since those older ones that I have listed for sale. This is definitely a different formula than I remember from the brand. It is really, really, the shimmers in general. The mattes are a little bit easier to work with. They're more fun to work with. They're a little bit lighter in terms of the way they behave. They're just easier to work with, if that makes any sense. And the shimmers are much more pretty. They are more sparkly, lighter, still quite impactful, not heavy on the color, not thick or particularly creamy, but they're not dry either. They're kind of like the Udanzai shimmers in that they're a very light formula that gives you crazy sparkly payoff. And I like the light tones. I prefer light to mid-tone shimmers, so I like the color selection of these shimmers. This is a really fun palette, really lovely. I recently did a video collaborating with Brie C here on YouTube. We were talking about if we could only keep 10 palettes, and I chose Garden of Juvias as my pastel palette, so that tells you how I feel about it. Now let's dive into a little palette with a lot of power. This is the Colored Rain Queen Bee palette. This palette is fantastic. It is so excellent. Look at how, first off, look at how cute it is. It's just a great little size. It's only a 6 pan. You know, the pans are kind of large. The size of the palette is nice, but it feels really sturdy and quality. It feels good in your hands. It has gorgeous, absolutely smash packaging with this lovely caramel honey sorts of glowing tones all over the packaging. And then there's this lenticular device right here where the bee's wings are shifting. So cool, right? How cool is that? The outer packaging, the outer sleeve, I don't usually keep the outer sleeves unless I think they're pretty. This outer sleeve is even different from the rest of the packaging because it has holographic wings instead. So much fun. And the shadow quality of this is remarkable. Honestly, it's, again, one of the best quality I have in my collection. The mattes are incredibly pigmented. They are very, very deep and rich and full. You know what you're getting with these mattes. You dip in just a little bit and you're going to get a gorgeous color. So beautiful. And the shimmers are remarkable. They are amazingly impactful, super, super sparkly and shiny, creamy, smooth, easy to go on. They blend together. You can use them together. They blend in with the other mattes. And even though this is only 6 pans, you can actually get a lot of different looks from it because of the selection of colors within it. This is a fantastic palette, and I am absolutely interested in trying other brands, or other palettes rather, from the Colored Rain brand. Very, very good. And finally, I have a little MAC quad here. This was a gift from my sister for my birthday last year. This is such a cute little quad. I will say I don't use it a ton because I kind of forget about quads. As far as the color story, my sister, she custom ordered this, so she chose the colors, and they're really lovely together. I do remember using this more recently, pairing it with something else, I can't remember, but it was very pretty. The look was very pretty. I think that MAC overall is more high-end brand, so they're not as interested in, perhaps, as the indie brands are, giving you crazy high shine or really foiled metallic sorts of looks with their shimmers. The shimmers are more traditional, a bit more like a satin shimmer. They are still pretty though, and I think that the color selection she gave me is very nice. For my own personal preferences, I would have to say I'm not super interested in the MAC formula because I do have really exciting formulas in my collection. I have almost all indie brands right now, and I'm very happy with my collection. I'm happy with those brands I've found. So this is good, and I do like it. I just tend to find it a bit on the softer side, so when I want a soft look, this is a nice option, or if I want to brighten this up, bring some more life to it, I might pair it with a shimmer from Jacqueline Cosmetics or one of my Udanzai palettes or something, just to bring something else to the table. And remember, this is just a quad. There are only 4 shadows in here, so for my own preferences, where I might use 4 to 6 shadows in a look, this is usually not quite enough, and it doesn't give me the depth that I like in my outer corner. So overall, if I can only talk about the formula of the shadows, I would say probably not. This is definitely more standard, higher end. It's good. It is good, and this is a beautiful matte. It is good quality, but it's not fully what I'm looking for, so I tend to pair it with something else. But overall, it's really fun, and I felt so loved by my sister when she sent me that as a birthday gift. And there you have it, my friends. That is my little one-off video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do consider liking and subscribing if you want to see more content like this. I upload several videos every week. Be sure to check the description box for lots more information. I appreciate you being with me here today. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!